have to put like your money where your mouth is. You have to like be willing to risk or you can stay comfortable. I mean, those are your options. You can risk and you can try and you can learn in the process and see like, wow, I'm so glad that I took those steps. Or you can stay where you're at. And a lot of people, unfortunately, just stay where they're at out of fear or out of other people's opinions or out of even not knowing what to do next. They just stay stuck and they live their whole life in a constant state of regret or just like, I should have, I could have.
Welcome to Heels, Handbags, and Hustle. Step in faith, carry love, pursue God's calling. This is your host, Rachel Earp, and I'm so delighted that you found my show. My podcast is dedicated to encouraging women to be more bold, confident, and secure in their work and femininity. I've had the privilege of bringing on many outstanding women who share their journeys, stories, and successes with us. I believe women should embrace their God-given gifts and abilities without the entanglements of fear, comparison, or past mistakes. As a wife, business owner, and mom of 2 boys, one with Down syndrome, I have found such joy in the community of supportive women. My prayer is that this podcast elevates each person who listens and inspires a closer walk with God. Now, let's get to it, friends. Hey friends, welcome to another episode of the Heels, Handbags, and Hustle podcast. It's been such a fun season, just having such incredible conversations with some really close friends of mine. I've loved being able to invite friends of mine on the show that have just poured into my cup and enriched my life. And I feel like being able to also share them with you guys is such a blessing to me. One of those in which I have today the honor of bringing to you, her name is Chelsey Diaz, and you're going to learn about her story. She is very much known for the Rainmaker Family and the work that they do to enrich families everywhere and just helping people earn more financial freedom. But beyond that, she is such a beautiful mama and entrepreneur, author, podcaster, all the things. And we're going to get to find out who Chelsey is. So thank you, Chelsey, for coming on. I'm so excited to have such a meaningful conversation with you today.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I feel so honored to be here. I think that you have such a wealth of knowledge, and every time I hear you speak, I just want to lean in because I know what you have to say is gold and full of wisdom and grace. So thank you for having me on. I'm excited to hopefully inspire your audience.
Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you for encouraging me in that way. I really appreciate it. And let's start with your story. I know people look at Chelsey Diaz here and now, like you've just got it all put together. Your social media, like everything is so phenomenal. It's done with such excellence. But I know that if we were to fast forward to rewind to the beginning, what was your story like and how did you get started with the Rainmaker Family?
Such a good question. And thank you for that compliment because although I have figured out some good systems and things that work, I definitely do not feel like I always have it put together. So just know that if you follow anybody and they look like they have everything put together, that's usually not always the truth. We all have things. We all have stuff that we are working through. And that's the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship and life is that we're always evolving, or at least in my opinion, we always should be evolving to the next best thing. But really where I started as far as Rainmakers go, my husband and I got married super young, right out of college. And we actually started in the wedding industry. We were photographers and videographers. And our first tiny 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment had this really rickety spiral staircase. So if you can just imagine walking into this like loft style apartment and you would see right away this rickety spiral staircase. And my husband is really tall. And so he would have to duck to get into this space. And at the top of the spiral staircase was our office, our very first little office that, like you had to duck on the edges, including myself, to get up there. And it was really in what I call a winter season. So it was in the winter, December, January, that we had come through a wedding season and we were really burnt out overexhausted, couldn't wait to have another weekend free. And we really had this realization that our friends and family that season had stopped calling us. We kept hearing comments like, "You're always so busy. You're always traveling. I don't want to bother you." And as we were considering and thinking about what our lives would look like the next 2, 3, 5 years out, and really desiring to eventually have a family one day, both of us, I think, had the aha moment to know that the lifestyle that we were living and the business that we were building would not be sustainable for the life that we wanted to live and the family that we wanted to create. And so it was really from a place of pain that we started looking into alternative revenue streams. And it was really in that just search for, finding the things that work. We discovered like an awesome method that we now teach. And I'll never forget like the following year being at a wedding. So we were in the winter season, kind of feeling the weight of the world on our shoulders. Friends and family stopped calling us. And fast forward to 6 to 9 months, we had started like a private label business on Amazon. And it was mostly Steven, my husband. He's kind of like creative genius, always up at night, like looking for different opportunities. And we were trying a bunch. And it wasn't until I'll never forget, we're in the middle of wedding season. It's probably 100 degrees out. We have a 10-minute break to get dinner. And we're stuffing our faces with like meat and potatoes. And I'm just like, why don't we just look at our Amazon account and see how much we made? And to my surprise, Rachel, we had made more on that business, in that business on our Amazon account than we had photographing that wedding.
Wow.
And it was like the weight of the world that I had been feeling like finally lifted for me. And it was like this relief and this opportunity that we had been looking for. And so as soon as it was breakthrough, like I believe that your breakthrough is not just for you, it's for others. And so
Yeah.
excuse me, we just started telling our friends and family about what we now call the Rainmaker method. And then from there, Rainmakers grew to what it is today, where we primarily help moms and families launch their first e-commerce brand. But it was really through our own pain and sharing with others. And just, I think more than anything, when you look back at the DNA of what Rainmakers and what Steve and I care about, is that you have a choice as a mom and as a family to change your story if you're not happy with it, or if there's things in your life that you're like, man, I don't want this continue to the next generation, or I don't want my thoughts around money or how I make money or my mindset or my personal health. Like, I want to change that. And so I think our own freedom is that we can do life differently, that it doesn't have to be the same as everybody else. And we can make a choice to be the one for our families. So that is more than anything like what I want families to know and mamas to know, is when they're in business, they can do it differently.
Oh my gosh, there's so much I love to this story. And something that you said just sparked a memory for me when I first met you. And I learned of the Rainmaker family, and I was like, that is just the most adorable. Not only are you guys adorable, but I loved the whole premise of what this movement is that you guys have created. And when you were talking about when you sat there at dinner eating the meat and the potatoes, have you ever seen that movie, Faith Like Potatoes?
I have not, but now I want to go watch it.
Oh my gosh. So when I think of the Rainmaker family, so the theme of this movie is, there's so much to it and I'm going to butcher it, but I just remember the main character standing in this field of potatoes with his hands held high and praying and asking God for the rain to come.
Wow.
So that he could harvest those potatoes and provide for his little family.
Wow.
And he had so much faith. And I look at the impact of what you guys are doing for families everywhere, how you mentioned that you took this dream from a place of pain, but it was so much more than just providing for yourself and for your family. You wanted to give people the tools to bring down that rain. And I find that so beautiful and so fitting for what you guys do. So I always wanted to tell you that. It reminded me of, like, not to equate what you guys are doing to planting potatoes, but I mean, essentially you guys are planting seeds in families and bringing such a huge impact. So a funny story around that, but I absolutely love what you guys do.
Thank you. Yeah, now I'm going to go watch that movie. I love that illustration that you gave.
You'll have to watch it because it's just so good.
Mm.
So, in light of all of those things, here you are in the season of life that you are in now, and talk to me a little bit about how, with this growth, how did you manage all of that? Because for those of us who either have started a business or maybe a side hustle or an entrepreneur, whatever the thing is, it's always the dream essentially to scale and to grow. But then when it happens, that is when we realize, well, now how do I keep up with it? How do I know on top of that, you're a mama, you have little kids, and all of the other things that life demands? Were there times and seasons in this journey that you questioned and wondered, like, are we doing the right thing? Did we move too fast? How did you keep up with all of it?
Yeah, that's so good. I think I'm a big believer in checking in with myself and with my emotions and feelings. I love goal setting when you can chunk down on them and actually make them attainable. And then beyond that, I think it's so important to check in with like, how am I feeling? And are the goals aligning with the way that I want to feel as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner? Because if we set these huge goals to grow, but it's at the expense of having peace or having beautiful dinner conversations with my kids, then it's actually not worth it. And I'm not to saying that you don't need like that starting a business, growing and scaling and working with people, like it's hard work, but I think also recognizing the season, like if are you in a startup season where you are working a little bit more than you want to, or like that you need to get the business up and running? Are you in a maintaining season? And the thing with recognizing what season you're in is that seasons come to an end, or they need to come to an end, especially when you are grinding away and you're like, I'm trying to make ends meet. I'm trying to implement all these systems. It has to come to an end. Otherwise, it'll be at the expense of your family to like continue that for years and years. So I would encourage people to like zoom out when they are thinking about, how do I want to feel in my business? What like approach do I want to take daily? What posture do I want to take daily? And I think for me, like, and I'll get into like practical on like how to maintain peace and how to set up my life and my week so that I'm in charge and it doesn't rule me. I'll definitely get into that. But I think we need to understand that, especially as women and moms, like we're such nurturers. And I think allowing ourselves to be led by how do I want to feel? Not letting emotions take control and be like, feel like overwhelmed and over committed, like, because that's an emotion for sure that can happen. But how do I want to feel? What type of energy do I want to be getting off? How do I want to feel towards my family at the end of my day? Like, I think those are some things that we can control. And I think I've felt out of whack before. And I think one of the best examples that I can give, Rachel, is when I had our second boy. So our business had been growing when we had our oldest, Kaizen. And I feel like I just kind of fell into place of like my work life rhythm that I had set in place. But after coming off of maternity leave with my son, like with our second Oliver, I just remember this like feeling that I just was like, I really need to be intentional with my time and become even more laser focused on what on what my contribution is to the business and where I'm leading. And I remember one night, I think I was a couple weeks into going back to work, being on meetings again, doing content and podcasting. And I just remember running downstairs and looking at my husband and just saying like, I feel like everyone is screaming at me. And it was like this overwhelm that I was on overdrive and I was trying to do too many things at night. I didn't have like screen limitations. I wasn't, my cortisol levels were through the roof. And it really led me on this journey of like, I need to create better systems and boundaries in my day-to-day work week that make me come alive so that I'm not getting to the end of the night and just feeling in this like spiraling, like worry and anxiety feeling that I think so many women experience, especially when you add in another business, another baby, another, something else that might be really good, but you just have to like carve everything out. So in that season, my husband and I created what we now call your dream week. And it was really looking at pattern recognition and looking at the weeks that I had a really good week where, man, I felt like at the end of my day, I had peace, I had clarity, I was doing the things that gave me so much life. And then I would compare that to a week where, man, my energy is drained. My head is spinning. I'm not sleeping as well. And really looking at what made it a great week versus what made it like a not so great week. And so for me, I'm a big believer in always starting with, your personal stuff first, because we all know if you don't plan the things that are life-giving to you and your personal things that give you oxygen, like it's really easy to just put in commitments just because, or say yes to extra things in work just because you have the space.
Yeah.
And so I really looked at my week and identified certain things every single day that I needed to do to have that really dream week. So what I would do, I would look at the calendar every 10 days. And I would add in like when I'm working out, when I'm having like mommy dates with each of my boys. Those are really important to me. We plan out our date night, and then I really time block and categorize each day into what I'm doing. And so creating that dream week, looking at the things that you need to plug in first that are going to give you life. So for me, like that really changed the game as far as where my energy is going. And even now, like as my boys have gotten older and we're in a new place, we just moved. So I feel like I'm a little bit out of routine. I am now like rewriting what my dream week is because it's changed now that we're in a different location, now that we're in new routines and all of these things. So I'm constantly evaluating, but I'm just looking at what gives me life and how can I show up the best version of myself, not only for my business, but for my family, which needs to come first.
Wow, that is so good. There's so much that I want to unpack
Do it.
and one of the things that I love that really stood out as you were sharing is taking a look at things that are giving you energy and that are draining your energy. And I think a lot of us get caught up in the checking off the list, like the to-do lists. And every day we have all these check boxes that we feel an obligation to fill, or we don't feel that we've accomplished anything in the day. If even one of those, I know I struggle with that. I'm like, it didn't matter. All the other stuff went to the wind, but I didn't get
Yeah.
that one thing done that like completed
Yeah.
my list. And then you go to bed, you're exhausted, you feel defeated, and you think, okay, now I've got to carry that into the next day and add that on top of my list for tomorrow. So you go to bed weary, you go to bed disheartened, and you just get up and you feel like you're running the rat race all over again. And I think that is an easy trap to fall into, but very, very quickly you begin to feel that burnout. And you just feel like you said, there's so many people screaming at you. I totally understand, what you're saying with that. And I think so many of us do, but we don't know how to kind of sift through all of that noise and look at, okay, I need to create these boundaries or these policies or things that I feel that I can be comfortable with and that I can sustainably continue doing. I think we look at the word boundary as such a negative thing because it seems like it's so set in stone and people are not going to like me and I'm not going to like it and maybe I want to change it later and I don't know if I want to draw that line because tomorrow I might not feel like doing that. And it's so important though, at the end of the day, can I ask myself, am I happy with what I accomplished? Do I feel good about it instead of did I check the boxes? So it helps to hear from other people who get it and who have been there. And I love that you really went deep into breaking it down into, hey, this is how I need to create and design my week and create the boundaries and the room for things that bring me joy. That's so beautiful. I love that. And even your little one-on-one time with your boys, how sweet.
Yeah. And yes, it's definitely It's always changing. And again, like you get to choose. Like I was reminded of that this weekend. I was with some girlfriends and I was asking a question of like, what do you do in this situation? And what is your workflow? And one of the girls just stopped me and said, like, you get to decide how you want to do this. You get to decide how you respond to email. You get to decide how you lay these things out. And I love, again, like you said, I love boundaries and systems, but it's also taking things that are implemented and in place as business owners and making them your own.
Yes.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and teaching people, especially if you have team, like this is how I best communicate. This is how I want to be talked to when I'm on a meeting and we need to get things done. Like this is what I want you to come prepared with so that you're not getting frustrated or drained by someone's communication style, what you need, like over
Yeah.
communicating. This is what I need to be the boss, this is
Yeah.
what I need to run this company. Cause at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like I know your listeners are entrepreneurs and we forget that we get to make the rules sometimes and
Mhm.
do life differently.
Yeah. That is the beauty of even not just entrepreneurship, but how you create your family dynamic, how you create your
Mhm.
environment, and even the things that you choose and say yes to in life, you can step back and evaluate them. Am I doing this from a place of obligation? Am I doing it because I feel pressured, like everybody expects this of me? Or am I doing it because I feel like this will honor God, that this will honor our family culture and our mission, and what I personally like, this is in alignment with my goals? And I know it's hard to step back and think so deeply. I remember when I started becoming aware of it, I was like, this is exhausting. Like, how can I take everything that comes into my life and evaluate it like this? But like you said, systems are so helpful, and being mindful of it. And yeah, it's not going to happen with every single thing. Sometimes we just make decisions on the fly and we do what we think is right in the moment. But it is encouraging to learn from other people. It doesn't mean we're going to do things exactly as they do it. We have to figure out what that looks like for ourselves and write our
Mhm.
own story with it. But I love that you mentioned you were asking like your friends, talk to me more about being in community, and not just community where it feels like this is going to help me professionally or maybe generate more income, but actual true community that fills your cup and fills your soul. Because as sometimes
Yeah.
we as mamas, especially, put that on the back burner, right?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes we don't think about, oh yeah, what do I need? How can I fill my cup? And yeah, I was just reflecting this last week about, man, I'm just so grateful for the rich friendships that I have from women from different ages, different backgrounds, different cities who have really become like deep friends that I know that we're going to be doing life together for a really long time.
Mhm.
And a lot of these friendships are people that we met in the business space through paid masterminds. I love, I will always preach like pay for education, pay for the therapy, the business coach, the mastermind. Um, and I think that oftentimes like people get afraid to step into those rooms or they want an immediate like ROI in their business financially, like you said, Rachel. And I think that all those things can happen. But there's something so beautiful about just creating friendship with women where you go deep and you share life together. And I
Mhm.
was even looking at like my phone, even today, like all of my text messages, and the most recent text messages are from people who have become dear friends that are also entrepreneurs. And I'm not saying that every friendship as an entrepreneur has to be another entrepreneur woman or coach. I think that there's needed friendships with people who are just a mom friend, or you just relate on this one thing, or maybe you're super different, but you just like hanging out together. I
Yeah.
think that that is very important in life too. But beyond like whether they're entrepreneur friends or not, there's something about being a giver and being truly you and being fully known. And for Stephen and I, we just recently moved to a new area. And the two couples that we know that we've been consistently getting together with, we met through other business masterminds and now we're doing life together. And I'm just so grateful that we have shown up for one another in powerful ways. And I think I'm just in this place of just sincere gratitude for reaching out to people when I've had that nudge in my heart, like, hey, I should text this person, or encouraging them on social media. And there's just this honest vulnerability and this honest like checking in with each other, where I am checking in not to get anything back. Like that's like my heart posture. My heart posture is I genuinely care. And
Yeah.
I think over the years we've just sown into those friendships. We've shown up, we've planned, like trips outside of mastermind meetups because we just want to hang out and be together. And it's in those that we've created these like lifelong friendships. And I think that there's this picture of like entrepreneurship is lonely, at the top, or you already feel like, at least where we moved from, like small little town, that not a lot of people like understood entrepreneurship like you and I do, Rachel. And it's really easy to just be like, this is lonely and it always has to be lonely. And I would argue that it doesn't have to be lonely. And there's, yes, effort in getting to know people, and it takes time. Sometimes there's not like chemistry right away and you're like besties, but it's in the relationship over the years. And so in this season of crazy transition, of like a lot of unknowns and pressure and tension, like I'm just really grateful for women around me who really know me, that I have like sent SOS messages to multiple times, and for them to know that like, yeah, I've got your back and I'm here for you, and like I've done this before, and moving is hard, but like you're going to get through it. And I'm just so grateful for those mentors and those friendships, that friendship is a two-way street. You got both have to be giving and loving one another, and I'm just so grateful for those friendships.
I love that. And it takes with being able to find that community, it does take time and intention
Mm-hmm.
and prayer and
Yeah.
asking God to lead you to the right people. Because my own experience in this, I know my husband can relate to this in so many levels as well. People can be really, really good for you, and then there's people that can be very toxic. And I think if you've had any encounters or experiences with people that are toxic, you have a tendency to be like, all right, I am done with everyone. I'm going
Yeah.
to isolate and
Yeah.
do my thing and
Mm-hmm.
keep my head down.
Yeah.
I don't need anyone.
Yeah.
And we've been through those seasons too. And if anyone is listening who is going through that, and maybe that's where you're at, and the thought of finding people and where to start, how to like find these communities, where to look, where to just find, maybe you just want one friend. Chelsey and I are both here to encourage you that it's okay, and we understand that place, but there's so much beauty in asking God to just lead you, and He will bring the
Mm-hmm.
right people into your life. And it is so enriching, it's so empowering and life-giving when you can find those people that you can connect with. So I love that you bring that to light in this, Chelsey, because I think people need to talk about that more with entrepreneurship, because many of us jump into it with that almost feeling like that should be part of their persona, almost as if to find community, to ask advice, or to just be vulnerable means that you're not successful or you're not as far along. We just want to constantly look like everything is perfect and we've got it all put together. And actually, I think more and more people are just craving to see like what is authentic about this person, what is authentic about their business, because people are just over all of the flash and the dash and the perfectly successful and I make all this money and I have all the things to prove it. But where was the journey? And that's one thing I love about what you guys do is you show people the journey, and you are an example of what it looks like to not just create and design family lifestyle and family business and all of those things, but here's the other pieces to the puzzle. Here's spending time with girlfriends. Here's making one-on-one time with my children and intentional date nights with my spouse. And here's the messy parts where you look adorable and you're in the kitchen vacuuming with your overalls or whatever it was that you were wearing that one day. I'm like, only Chelsey could just be in the kitchen vacuuming and look so adorable.
Oh,
But
thank you.
somehow I think you always do that. And, not all of us can look like that, but at least we get to see she's also vacuuming. She's making dinner. She's a normal person that's just going through life and doing life the best that she can. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. And I just want to encourage your audience too on the topic of friendships, because I think too, there's like friendships in seasons. Like we have friends, like we were super close, Steven and I, with like a college group that we were a part of. And for a season, like they were people, we hung out with them all the time. And then like some of us moved away or went to different churches, and like that season kind of ended. And there's a few people that, yes, we still keep in contact with. But I think knowing too, like sometimes there's seasons for friendships, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Friendships, it's a lot like dating. You just kind of put feelers out there and just see, like, again, I just moved to a new area. And so I literally feel like I'm the mom at the park being like, who here could be my friend? Like, I need a business card to be like, will you be my friend? Like, that's how I
Yes.
felt. But I have met a few moms just by being genuine and saying like, hey, do you come here often? And that's how I like met another mom. And
That's
so I think
great.
that it doesn't always have to be like you meet somebody and you're instantly BFFs. Like we all want that. And there is a little trial of like, do we connect? Are we friends? So I think if you're struggling with friendships, or you're in a season where your kids are just busy and doing a lot of things, like, man, put something on the calendar and I think relieve the pressure of like, we have to go deep immediately. Like, I think that takes time. It takes time to get to know people and for them to open up. And I think it's important to put ourselves out there. Like, who knows, maybe you could find your next best friend at a dance class. You know what I mean? Like, I love doing hip hop dance. And so
Oh, how
I
fun.
joined like a hip hop dance class and like invited a friend or met different people that I normally wouldn't meet. And so I think we should just never be afraid to try something new, to put ourselves out there, especially in friendship when you maybe have moved somewhere new or feel vulnerable, or just in that like, oh, my friendships have changed because I've changed or I've grown and evolved too. And I think that's okay, but we still need people, and we can't just be like a hermit all the time either.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's you it's so good and healthy for for us emotionally. And I think God created us essentially to need other people. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, if you were to take away all of the identities that we claim about ourselves, we are human beings at our core. We are designed
Yes.
to connect. We're designed to thrive when we're together. In fact, Ecclesiastes says that two are better than one. So
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of different examples of this, even in God's word, where he tells us not to forsake assembling together and that we sharpen each other. And
Yeah.
like you said, friendships sometimes are seasons. And that's actually a conversation I've had with one of my children, my oldest, because he's kind of getting at that age where he's had friends that he thought mom, we're going to be friends forever. And
Yeah.
and people change, environments change, families change, and for whatever reason you move away, like you said. So I've had to have those talks with him where he understands, it's okay. You had some great memories and he was your little buddy for this time, but he's busy now and he's involved in this and you're involved in that, and it's just you're in different worlds now, and that's okay. And sometimes people feel like if you're moving on and maybe another friend is not, and sometimes jealousy gets in the way, and people, it's not that they don't care about you, they see maybe you moving forward but they can't. I think it's so important to be understanding, even if someone comes off offensive or you feel that there's some hurt and the dynamics change and you don't know what you've done, but you can look at it and just
think more deeply into, like you said, even if it's just to send a text and say, hey, I was just thinking about you. I had this fun memory that came up of something that we did together, or a dinner conversation or whatever. But when we're so caught up in the busyness and the craziness, we forget to do the things that make us human and that make us who we are. And that is, we crave and we need people. We do need people.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So with all of that, I enjoy learning from your wisdom, and I'm so grateful that you could take time to share the bits and pieces of what that journey has looked like for you, what has helped you. What are some other words of wisdom, maybe for the mama who's just wondering, like, how do I actually take something that I've dreamt about that's in my heart and I can almost feel it and hold it, but I don't know that next step because I'm afraid that if I take that next step, that maybe everything will change and I won't like how that feels. I think some of us are fearful and we move and we either don't make decisions or we do make decisions from a place of fear instead of a place of empowerment. So how would you encourage that mom who wants to do more but is just afraid to take that next step?
Yeah. I would just encourage her right now that we don't make decisions without a little bit of fear or a little bit of anticipation or like, oh no, what's going to happen? I think that I just want to normalize that little piece, because it's often that fear is trying to actually keep us safe. And your body wants to keep you comfortable. And so any type of change or doing something new, your body just wants to that's why almost like as soon as you make a decision about a business or you go in a direction, if you've never done it before, that's why you have almost that self-doubt. It almost comes on stronger. I don't know if you've ever felt that way,
Yes.
Rachel. And it's because our bodies, from a physiological level and our mind, they want to keep us safe and comfortable. So if you can understand okay, I'm feeling this because my body wants to keep me safe and comfortable. Thank you, body, for trying to keep me safe and comfortable. But I have to grow this muscle so that the next time I take another step, my body will be like, oh, hey, I've done this before. I'm okay. So I think recognizing that fear and stepping out is part of the normal process. And I think you don't move without any fear. I think you move through the fear and you learn to embrace it and know that this is part of the process. So I would say number one, recognizing that. I think number two, you can honestly just look at your situation being like, I can continue to dream and hope that one day I'll accomplish this goal, or I will be able to say I've tried this. Those are only aspirations until you actually do them. So I think, I'm a big believer in you have.
Are you a Christian woman who's tired of the noise, the hustle for hustle's sake, the curated highlight reels, the never-ending networking events that feel more like performance than purpose? Same girl. That's why I'm creating something different. It's called Flourish, a beautiful new community for women who are done pretending and ready to build lives rooted in purpose, peace, and bold spirit-led pursuit. If you're a woman who loves Jesus, who feels called to lead in your business, your home, your ministry, or maybe all three, but longs for real connection with other women who get it, this is for you. Flourish is not another stuffy mastermind or a group chat full of shallow small talk. It's a space for Christian women who want depth, not just hustle. A place where we can talk about marriage and motherhood, business and burnout, calling and coffee, all in one breath. Whether you're a CEO, a stay-at-home mama, or somewhere in between, if you're ready to stop hiding and start building with intention, I'd love to invite you to join the Flourish waitlist. You'll be the first to know when the doors open to this community, and trust me, it's going to be sweet, sacred, and exactly what your soul's been craving. Just send me your name and email on Instagram with the word flourish at I am Rachel Earp, and I will be sure to add you to the news list, and you'll be first to know when we launch. You were made to flourish, and you don't have to do it alone, friend. So once again, find me over on Instagram at I am Rachel Earp.
I will link it in the show notes for you also so you can easily find it. Go to your DMs, DM the word flourish and your email, and you'll be added right to this special waitlist. Cannot wait to see you inside, friends, because you were made to flourish, and I want to help you do it. Talk to you soon.
Like you have to put like your money where your mouth is. You have to like be willing to risk or you can stay comfortable. I mean, those are your options. You can risk and you can try and you can learn in the process and see like, wow, I'm so glad that I took those steps. Or you can stay where you're at. And a lot of people unfortunately just stay where they're at out of fear or out of other people's opinions or out of even not knowing what to do next. They just stay stuck and they live their whole life in a constant state of regret or just like, I should have, I could have. And I just like, I'm always about growth and we just have to continue to be growing. So I would say that. And then I think the last piece that I would leave, so understanding that the fear is normal, we all experience it, and that you have a choice to either just stay where you're at, which could be fine. Maybe you're supposed to stay where you're at right now, or maybe you're actually supposed to take that leap and know that there's never a perfect time. There's never like everything that lines up just perfectly to make it all happen. There's always something that you're going to have to push through to find that breakthrough. And then beyond that, like I would just say that consistency over time and taking effective action, consistency and taking effective action will get those results. No matter what business opportunity you choose today, no matter what goal or dream you have, you usually don't arrive overnight. Like you can look on anybody on social media, anybody who's done anything successful, and we think that it was just like a straight shot to the top of the mountain. And I can guarantee that that's not the case. There's been lots of valleys, lots of dips, lots of internal work that you probably will never see somebody, I mean, they might share about eventually, but there's things that are going on that we don't always get to see or know about. It's not a straight shot. And so just remembering like consistency, and you can't compare, your chapter 1 to somebody's chapter 50 who's been at it and been doing it a lot longer. You can't say like, well, why do they have 20,000 followers or $100,000 of sales or 6 or 7 or hitting the Inc. 5,000 list or being on Forbes magazine? Like it was all a process. And so just understanding that they got to that process by consistently showing up, by taking their idea and taking effective action on those ideas. So that's what I would leave your listeners with, and just encourage them to step out, to risk, to take action, to not be afraid. And there's not failure. It's just growth. It's just learning lessons that you don't have to make the same lessons or mistakes like again. And that's the beautiful thing of life is that we all get to grow, and maybe the lesson isn't just for you, it's for somebody else as well.
Oh, I love that so much. Every new day is all fresh and new, like a new page that we can determine what unfolds in that part of our story. And yes, sometimes there's the plot twists where,
Yes.
well, okay, so I guess my story is going to change a little bit here. And that is okay. That is what makes your story beautiful. And I love the other piece of what you said about making effective decisions and looking at opportunities, evaluating them, and implementing all of the systems. There's just so many different things that we talked about today that is just pure gold, Chelsey. So thank you for sharing your heart and being so authentic in what has worked for you so that other people can learn and take pieces of that in and try them on their own too. For those who want to get to know more, I know you have a children's book also, right? I loved that, and you have another book that's out. Tell us a little bit more about those things and how people can get in touch with what you guys do.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say if you want to learn more about what we're doing or hear, like even Rachel on our own podcast, we also have a podcast called the Rainmaker Family Show. So yeah, go connect with us over there. Listen to Rachel's episode. You can also find like at the Rainmaker Family, we're doing more stuff over there on that Instagram. I also have a website, chelseyddiaz.com, which has links to both of those books or blog posts or any resources that you want to get connected with.
Perfect. That's so exciting. And I'm excited to see too how you guys continue to show up and what the Rainmaker family will continue to do. It's such a blessing and inspiration. So thank you for taking time to share with all of us today. You're such a blessing, so beautiful, and I'm so honored for your friendship and consider you as one of those people in my life that God has used to enrich and inspire. So thank you so much, Chelsey, for this time today.
Thank you, Rachel, for having me on. What a fun conversation. Just so honored. Thank you.
This episode of Heels, Handbags, and Hustle is brought to you today by Herbwear, your go-to marketing team for done-for-you social media that actually sounds like you. If posting on social media makes you feel overwhelmed, inconsistent, or like you're constantly yelling into the void, I've got good news. At Herbwear, we help business owners and brands show up online with purpose. Our team of writers, designers, and brand strategists create custom branded content, graphics, captions, reels, stories, all the things, so you can spend less time stressing over Canva and more time serving your audience. Whether you're in insurance, coaching, real estate, ministry, or anything in between, we create a voice, aligned on-brand content calendar that helps you show up consistently without sounding cookie cutter. We've helped brands grow their reach and engagement with smart, beautiful, and strategic content that actually converts. So if your social media feels more like a chore than a channel for connection, it might be time to hand it off to the pros. Learn more and get started at herbwear.com or DM me the word social on Instagram at @IamRachelHerb and I'll send you all the details because your brand deserves something way more than boring content. So get started today on your social media and make your identity something the whole world can see. Well, friends, I just want to thank you for listening today. And if this show has meant something to you, please leave a review or rating on whatever platform you're listening to. Also, make sure you follow the show. This helps me continue bringing episodes like this where women can share their stories and link arms together. I hope you feel inspired and refreshed. Now get out there and hustle, girlfriends.